Welcome to another episode of On the Red Carpet with Tick Podcast. Today we have with us the developers of the new game releasing later in the year, Beyond Flesh and Blood from PixelBomb. And we're really excited to talk about their game today and see what this game is all about and what we could expect on the Xbox One. So guys, as we get started and we look forward to the game, tell us what Beyond Flesh and Blood is about. What inspired you guys to create the game, and where do you see the game heading in the future?
Okay, hello. I'm Phil. I am lead coder on Beyond Flesh and Blood, and our game is a third-person action adventure in the Unreal Engine, set in a post-apocalyptical Manchester 200 years in the future. The main reason why we've made this game is it's the sort of game that myself and my co-leader has always wanted to make. It's a gory, over-the-top, violent game based in our hometown.
Oh wow! Now, in a game like this, in most action-adventure games, we have we've seen a few. We have some of them coming out, some similar to like Ashen or things like that. What in your game particularly separates it from all the other titles in a way? A lot of times you have these games that have different armor sets, different weapon sets, different environments and things like that play into the role. What in particular in your game sets it apart from everything else?
Okay, well, the main features of our game is that you pilot large rigs or combat frames. You're not actually inside them as a suit of armor. It is a machine that you control from a space station in orbit. This allows you to be jacked into a wide range of frames, from a 12-foot tall JCB that likes to tear people to pieces, to a sleek combat grade frame that can bend space and time.
Oh wow!
Oh yes, yeah, it is a lot. There's a wide range. You move from the heavy hand-to-hand based suits to the sleek agile ones, and everything in between. And if Seb, who is a designer on the game, would like to talk about it a bit.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Seb, one of the level designers on the project. Yeah, I think one of the big drawing points, especially for like a European audience or an English audience, is the game is set in Manchester in the UK. And we've kind of recreated certain parts of Manchester, so it's kind of a big drawing point for us. And I think a good selling point for the game is people can actually go on Google Maps and look at these places that we've recreated in the game.
Wow.
And see our take on what they would look like after 200 years in the post-apocalyptic world.
A big thing that we wanted to get is, if you've ever been to Manchester, you will recognise major landmarks, and there are areas that if you've been there on a Friday night don't look too different in our game. And this is our hometown. We are a Manchester-based studio, so it has been a joy and an honour to interpret what it would look like after a nuclear war and to put our own
spin on it.
Yes, yeah.
It's really easy to go and get reference because we literally walk 5 minutes a night across where the game will be set, so that's also handy.
That's really awesome, man. I mean, I'm from the States. I've never been anywhere outside of the States, I think, honestly. But for the people who are familiar with the area, it's really cool to be able to go someplace and be like, hey, I used to live on this street. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe even walk down a block and be like, oh wow, I'm fighting in this area that I used to hang out at. That's a really cool and interesting thing that you guys have included into the game.
It's a big point that we wanted to get across. Most games that are set in England are set in your London, and there'll be a red phone box and a black cat. that's all that they do. We're from the north, and we have made sure that all of the enemies that you fight against have northern accents. It's different from the normal representations of England in a game.
Yeah, I think some of the cursing or swearing could be lost on parts of the world as to be a bit they'd be questioning what that actually means.
Right. No, but that's really cool. I like the idea of you know, be able to expand upon something, because listen, the reality of it is that, you know, even if we all come from the same place, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are the same. And you just don't want everyone who plays games to depict, you know, people from the United Kingdom. Everything is based in London. Everything is based, you know, in those areas. No, there are other parts, and there are different languages and lingos that go into what is happening in the UK. So I'm actually really excited to play the game now, just to get a different experience and hear a different language. Now, I love mechs. Mechs is awesome. Okay. You know, I love it. The thing is, though, with games like Titanfall, you're able to get out of the mech and fight on land with a pilot or a particular person. Now, are the mechs a special vehicle that you can control, or you are in them 24/7 every time you go out to the battlefield?
We actually have this space quite covered. You spend the entire space, so you spend the entire game on the space station, and then you pilot the mechs that are on the actual ground.
Okay.
But the final suit that you will actually pilot is a man-sized suit, and then other human enemies who are on the ground, they may have left some larger mechs behind, which means that your smaller mech can climb inside that larger mech, and then you can pilot that.
Oh, yes. Wow.
It's a bit like, it's a bit mechception.
That's cool.
It was in your Greenlight trailer, and people went crazy over the idea that there's a mech that can get inside another mech, and we also love mechs too. So we have all the mechs you will ever need.
Right. Oh man. So in the game, you have a lot of different combat, and obviously there are no mechs that are the same. There are different mechs that you can probably build and design yourself in some type of way. Now, when it comes to that, do you have like a outlaw before you go into battle? Different weapons, lasers, missiles. How do you equip your mech for battle before going out into the field?
Okay, well, the main thing is this actually ties into the death mechanic that is in the game. Because you're up on the space station as you pilot the rigs.
Right.
You can't actually die in the game. They are seen as a disposable shell that you just wear, which means if you're in the middle of combat and your mech is killed, a new drop pod just comes down from orbit, and you jump from your damaged mech into the next one, and you just continue the fight.
Oh.
Because of the nature of this, that means that you don't have much of a chance to actually upgrade to upgrade the different marks of suits.
Okay.
The upgrade path that we take in the game is you start as the Mark 1, and then as you advance, and for various story reasons, you will unlock more advanced
suits,
and then each of these suits has its own upgrade path that you'll take through the single player part of the game.
Wow.
Yes.
So basically, you get a different story for each suit that you wear? Or not a different story, but a different path with that particular mech, probably because the mech is more advanced, so you would deal with more advanced enemies.
I think one of the big things we kind of wanted to focus on was, obviously, our game is about a big, large mech / robot walking around basically killing enemies. So we didn't want to kind of shy away from that and pull any punches.
Right.
So we have basically finishing moves in the game, where if you get the enemy's health down to a certain amount, you can basically do a finishing move on them. And each mech has a wide variety of really, really horrific ways to kill people. Some of them are quite graphic.
It's been a lot of fun coming up with the ideas.
I'm sure.
We've found out a lot about the other members of staff, and it's always the quiet ones.
Yes. Yeah, you want to see the list of stuff that isn't going in the game.
Oh, man.
There's been left on the drawing board.
That is hilarious. I mean, everybody loves destroying and killing in mech, so I could imagine what you guys have planned. I can't wait to see it. Now, usually when it comes to indie titles, you know, your staff isn't always the largest. So I just want to reflect on your staff, and I want to reflect on, do you guys have writers? for a story? What is the story dynamic behind it? First, how many of you guys have worked on the game?
Okay, we have an interesting mix here. There is myself and my your colleague Lee. We've been in the industry for about 10 years. We have a wonderful your concept artist who has a lot of industry experience, and then some of our other members have about 5 years. Whereas we've also, because we're a small indie team and we are trying to save as much money as we can, we've employed some people straight out of university, and this is their first job. So we have quite a large mix here.
Okay. Now, do you guys have someone working on the story in particular, and what is the story actually focused on between this? It sounds like a war happening in Manchester, while I guess maybe the tactical part of everything happens on the space station.
Okay. The story of the game takes place over a 24-hour period, and it features our protagonist, who is called Ethan. And through a circumstance, he starts off as the lowest of the low. His job is to move your boxes around in the base, and there's a large war that is happening around him, but he is not a part of this. Through the course of the single player story, you will be thrust into this larger conflict, and carnage and wonderful things happens, but it all takes place over one 24-hour period, and I think it clocks in at about 6.5 hours worth of single player gameplay.
Nice. That's nice. Go ahead.
As for the actual story, it was myself and Lee who came up with the basic overview as to what would happen, and then we've worked on it quite closely with the designers who built the maps. And then we actually have a freelance scriptwriter that we have let do the final pass on this, because he's turned our terrible dialogue as possible. And
right, I completely understand. Oh man,
we learned quite quickly that while we can come up with wonderful ideas for a story, it's the sort of thing that you need a trained professional for.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the story is very important nowadays when it comes to gaming. And the great thing about having a story in your particular game is that you don't usually get that when it comes to the indie titles or the indie scene. Sometimes people just try to focus on the particular game and doing certain things like that. But to know that you have a fleshed out story with 6 hours worth of gameplay in this, mech based title where you can do fatalities, it all sounds good. Like it all lines up to be a very exciting game, and it's something that I'm looking forward to picking up and playing. Now, obviously, you have the story, you have this character Ethan, and everything sounds like it is rocking and rolling. How is the sound quality, the music behind the game? Is there any in the game at all?
Okay, yes, we have outsourced our soundtrack to a local studio that's called Hilltown Studios, and they have done a wonderful job.
Nice. That is awesome.
Yes, the soundtrack, it starts off, and as it is uplifting, and there's a sense of wonderment, and then as the game and the story takes a darker turn, your music also it changes to reflect this. And there've been a lot of days where that have been spent in the studio where we've just shown them gameplay footage to get the best custom soundtrack that we can to match our action.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the things that kind of sums it up is, obviously, I spend all day kind of I spend part of my day sometimes putting music into the levels, and after a couple of weeks of still hearing the same track over and over again, I still really, really like it. It was something that I would listen to even after the game's released.
Right.
I think that kind of shows just how good the soundtrack is going to be.
I think our marketing team would like to say that when we go on sale on Steam, you'll be able to buy the soundtrack too. So.
Oh wow!
Shameless plug, but yeah.
Wow, no, but that's awesome. I mean, no, I wasn't expecting you guys to say that, so that's a very big surprise too. I mean, if people are really into the music, because listen, I think video game music gets overlooked a lot. People don't understand how music and certain sounds can really set the tone for a game. It really sets the atmosphere. So if the music quality is really good and people enjoy listening to it, it'd be really cool just to have that music with you. You to pick up the OST, even drive around, maybe in a car, even make yourself feel like a superhero or something like that. So it's really cool to know that they can pick that up on Steam. That's really awesome. That's really cool.
The really cool things about sound and kind of audio design, especially with the soundtrack, is I don't think a lot of people notice it when it's done well. I think it's one that if it's done poorly, you'll notice it, but if it's done really well, then it just kind of adds to the experience and it'll never crush your mind.
Right, exactly. I agree. Now, obviously, we don't have the whole co-op dynamic where it's like couch co-op anymore. That's kind of faded. Do you guys have any type of multiplayer aspect to the game? Is there a co-op feature? Is there a player versus player feature, or is it just a straight single player experience?
Okay, the main thing is we are focused on the single player story experience. We do have our wave-based mode where you are in an arena and you'll fight against waves of enemies, and we are looking into adding multiplayer into this with, well, we are trying things out.
Okay.
But the single player part of the experience has been our main focus. I would love for there to be multiplayer in this game, but we are a small indie team, and we would much rather give a good solid single player experience and then see where we are after that, then try and do everything at the same time.
I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of times you get developers who want to go for the gusto, and they may not put the quality that they want to put into that single player experience because they want to add this added feature. And I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, if it's good to experiment and to see if you can add these features, but if you can give a good quality a good quality single player experience, then people will always be there. And when you do decide to drop that multiplayer experience, it only adds to the greatness of the title. That's really great.
I would love to see multiplayer in this game, and it would be perfect for the console market.
Right.
It's definitely a thing that you're looking into.
Right. Now, this is something that I ask any developer that I talk to. How has your experience been with the Idea Xbox program?
Okay, we've had a wonderful time with them. I was at the Play Expo, and there was a chap called Lee Stott from Microsoft. He came over and he saw the game, and he really liked what he was seeing. And then through him, we've been in contact with other people at the Microsoft. We went down to their campus that they have here. They've been a great help when we did the actual ID submission. If we had any questions, they were able to answer that. And yeah, I sound like I'm towing the corporate line here, but we've had a wonderful experience with the ID program.
That's good, and that's good to hear. I mean, earlier, I could say in the Xbox lifecycle, we used to hear a lot because it was always this thing about the parity clause and things like that, and the reason why Microsoft wasn't getting as many I guess you could say indie games as the PlayStation 4. But you can see the abundance of people really starting to hit the Xbox program, and I'm really glad that it's taken off because, Tick Podcasts, we're very indie friendly. We really want to help the indie developers get their names out there to the Xbox community, because the indie scene may not be as big as the next Call of Duty or the next Halo. So making people aware that, hey, listen, there's some amazing games that aren't $60 that you can play right now, at high quality, at a lower price is right here in front of you. So it's really good to have developers like you presenting these really awesome titles and presenting that to the Xbox listeners out there that listen to the show and watch the show on YouTube and listen to us on iTunes and Apple. Shameless plug.
Wait, oh no. What about the plugs?
Right. But yeah, no, but that's great to hear. That's great to hear, definitely.
So we're trying to make the best and the biggest experience that we can, but on an indie budget. I love small indie games that focus on single gameplay mechanics. They're the sort of games I like to buy and I like to play. Whereas here we are going for the most bang for your buck that you can possibly get. So it's a big over-the-top game with lots of gore and action, but for an indie price point.
Right. Well, guys, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to chat with you about your game Beyond Flesh and Blood. Really looking forward to it. Before we head out, do you guys have any particular dates on when we can expect these games out? Okay,
we shall be showing our Unreal 4 build at EGX, which is the 24th of this month, and then we are coming out on Steam on Steam Early Access at the end of October, and then consoles after Christmas.
Consoles after Christmas. Very awesome. And that's going to be a simultaneous release on consoles?
There's a few things to work out on that, but it'll be as close to each other as they possibly can.
Okay. Awesome. Again, I want to thank you, Phil, Seth, for giving me the opportunity to chat with you. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing more about your game. I will definitely be I won't be at EGX, but I may have some guys out there because I do have a UK-based team. So I may have some guys go out there and chat with you.
That anyone will be able to